That's because they're robbing the poor. They're like vampires and leeches. And I tell people, we fight bombs with food. We fight guns with books.
He'll be introducing our special guest, Cynthia Mckinney, and also the tour's organizer, Larry Hales. So without further ado, welcome, Reverend Witherspoon.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us this evening. We greatly appreciate you. We consider it a pleasure to have you here at Workers United, and we think it's appropriate that we have this meeting here because there's so many issues taking place. Someone to give Ms. McKinney a round of applause. Come on, stand up and give Ms. McKinney a round of applause. This lady is an international freedom fighter. She was a strong, independent member of Congress from the state of Georgia. And I don't mind saying that I certainly hope that she considers staking her claim to that seat because we need strong, independent voices like her in the United States Congress. We've got to set the president straight regardless of what his party is, what his color is, or what his affiliation is in relationship to the issues of poor people and working class people and people of color in this country. And we also like to recognize Larry Hales. Is he still here in the room?
There he is, right up front.
Thank you so much, brother. Could you please stand? Let's recognize him, please. He's responsible for putting this national tour together, and we're grateful for that. When I looked at the title of this tour, a national tour to build the people's power, I thought that it was very appropriate. And the reason why I thought it was appropriate is because of the term build. And the reason why the term build is important is because before you build something, you have to assess the supplies and the resources that you have. You've got to take an inventory to be able to determine whether or not you have the proper resources to be able to build. Because if you begin to build something and halfway through you don't have all the resources and the supplies that you need, you're out of luck. And so we're here tonight for the purposes of assessing the resources and the tools that we have as a community. We didn't want a big meeting. We wanted a private session, a workshop style session, if you will, for the purposes of getting the tools and the resources that we need to launch and to jumpstart a real people's movement. And we thought that it was appropriate here in Baltimore as well. Baltimore is not like any other city in the country. Every other city has a whole bunch of different issues, particularly cities where you are people of color, whether it be Latino people, African American people, and in some instances, poor white folk. You're finding issues in relationship to poor public education. And not so much systems that don't have money, but it's an issue of priorities. It's an issue of how the money is to essentially be spent. Right here in the state of Maryland, there's a lawsuit pending between HBCUs in the state of Maryland.
That's right.
The lawsuit is on the books because what they've discovered is that when the funding is doled out, HBCUs fall short in comparison to white institutions. Our contention is that is completely unfair and unjust. Right. We believe that everybody deserves a quality public education across the board. Right. We believe that that is a necessity, and that is one of the reasons why we're here today. For those of you, a brother came from Delaware today. Can you give him a round of applause? He drove all the way from Delaware to be with us today. I'm extremely excited because he's going to be looking at starting an SCLC chapter in the state of Delaware, but we'll talk about that later. That's selfish, but nevertheless. When we look at the type of issues that we're facing in relationship to housing, and I'm sure that you've seen some of the issues here driving into Baltimore, there's a situation where we have dilapidated housing.
That's right.
Banks are completely raping poor and working class people over the coals. We had a situation here in Baltimore where Occupy, and we're happy to see members of Occupy who are here today, they completely took over the lobby of a bank last week. And we ought to celebrate them for that. Because the banks decided to evict somebody, Occupy decided to stop business as usual at that bank. And we believe that that's something to celebrate. But not only do we have issues in relationship to housing and education, we've got issues in relationship to criminal justice as well.
Oh, yes.
We've got a governor who's hell-bent on building a youth jail at the expense of strong public schools, at the expense of recreation centers, and at the expense of swimming pools for young people. We've demonstrated time and time again in relationship to this youth jail. We've been able to push them back twice. We're going to continue to push them back again. We kicked the gate in at the jail site last year, and by damn it, we'll do it again if he attempts to build it again.
Amen.
There are a plethora of different issues that are facing us as a community. And so as we listen to Ms. McKinney speak, we need to listen intently. We need to listen with the intent to be about the business to actually do something. Because the time for us to simply listen and do nothing is completely over.
Amen.
The time for us to simply be in the presence of greatness and not allow for some of that greatness to spill off on us is over. And so I want us to listen intently and to be about the business of taking something away from this experience. The worst thing that we can do is to be in the presence of great people and not allow for some of the greatness that that person has to rub off on us. If there's one thing that we've learned as a community and as a society with great people who have gone home to be with the Lord far before their time, they've been assassinated, they've been poured down in the street like dogs, is that what we need to do is to seize the opportunity to be able to take heed and to take in the information that they are willing to share with us. And again, we're just so excited to have her here with us today. We're fired up, and we're fired up about the prospects that exist with her being here. We're fired up about what she's doing in this country. We are fired up about what she stands for, and we are just fired up as hell about the fact that we are able to be in her presence tonight. And so without further ado, I present to some and introduce to others. As I'm a preacher, I always say it, Miss Cynthia Mckinney. Let's get fired up, Baltimore.
Thank you so much. Man, I wasn't there for all of that. And actually, tonight is really not about me. Tonight is about you. We have come to Baltimore because we want this. You could say that this is a listening tour. This is the first leg, and I really shouldn't be the one to do so much of this because we've got the representative from the International Action Center, Larry Hales, who is here, whose idea it was and who will be in charge of stewarding the International Action Center and me throughout this national tour. This is the first leg. You could say this is our trial run. We were 2 nights ago in New York, standing room only crowd. People were enthusiastic. People stayed late. It was a working session. What we did was we allowed people to define for themselves what the major issues of the community were. And then, because International Action Center is about doing things, then we broke down into work sessions and came up with a plan of action to tackle those issues. And I'll be a part of the actions that come out of those plans that were made in New York. Then last night, we were in Philadelphia. And in Philadelphia, the people didn't want to go home. They stayed. The lights started flashing on and off. That was a signal for us to get out of the room. We were in the church. We were in Calvary Church up there. And people just stayed. And then they gently moved us out of the room. And we had another meeting on the sidewalk. After the sidewalk meeting, then one of the International Action Center leaders said, well, let's go to my house. So we concluded the evening at her house. So what I'm saying is that there are people who really are now sick and tired of diagnosing the problem. They want some leadership with vision who can say, let's get busy about solving the problem. Then, of course, now that brings us here to Baltimore. And we would like to do the same thing here. In the summation, I will have some additional information about how I would like to see you organize for a special project that I am working on down in the state of Georgia. But that's later. That's after we deal with Baltimore, Maryland, and Delaware. Now, I also want to say a word about the co-chair of, or I guess the executive director, I don't know exactly what her title is, of the International Action Center, and that's Sarah Flounders. You thought I was going to say Sharon, but of course, yes, Sharon is wonderful. But what Sarah came up with was an idea to use the energy of the Occupy movement and to allow the, resistors of today and yesterday to join with the resistors of today in not just a mentoring opportunity, but also a partnership. And I have often said that my father's generation did an excellent job of mentoring my generation into a movement, into the movement. But my generation didn't do a very good job of mentoring young people into their movement, a movement that could continue what we started in terms of putting our country on the right track. Now the country is so deep in the rut of the wrong track that I think finally it is clear to a lot of people from various walks of life that it really doesn't matter what color you are, what language you speak, what accent you speak with, because I have a southern accent and I'm proud of my southern accent. Right. But it really doesn't matter what gender we are, what God we pray to, because the Occupy movement gave us the language to define ourselves as the 99%. We're all in the same boat together. And we have got to rescue our country from the 1%. So while the International Action Center calls this the Build People's Power Tour, I chose to call it the Push Back, Fight Back, Take Back Our Country Tour. That's what this tour is going to be about. So I'm going to, with the moderator's permission, pass the microphone over to Larry Hales, who is the true and real representative of the International Action Center. And then we want to hear from all of you, because we do have some stories to tell, some actions that need to be done, and we want to hear and record them all. And I'd like to say a word of thanks to the Dignity delegation that's here, Dr. Randy Short, Jocelyn, who is with the camera, and all of the other members who have come as a result, Ken Ford and Latrell Osborne, and our professor from Delaware, Jahi from Delaware State. So thank you, and come on, Larry.
I was, when I was a kid until my early adulthood, I used to be painfully shy, to the point of, when I would go into a classroom or any big area where there are a lot of people, I would always sit in the back as close to the corner as possible. And, I've gotten over that for the most part. And, one of the things that helped me get beyond that was becoming a political organizer and being mentored by, I didn't meet Cynthia till a few years ago, but people like Cynthia, people like Sharon, and others that I've been able to meet. And that sort of drove my desire to become more actively involved and become an organizer. And of course, as an organizer, sometimes you have to be prepared to speak. And so that shyness and that fear of public speaking I had to get over with. And I had to remember something that a teacher told me. She says, you're a very quiet person. Be loud enough so people can hear you, quiet enough to make them pay attention. But the tour, the People's Power Tour, the reason why we're talking about it at this point, I think first of all, we have to look at last year and measure the tremendous outpouring of people and tremendous organizational work, as well as the mobilization of the masses that took to the streets. And it didn't start with Occupy movement. It actually started with the people of Wisconsin, who rose up and took over their state capital in Madison. And if you look at what was going on in Wisconsin, first of all, if you know anything about Wisconsin, historically it was a progressive state. It was the birthplace of the Republican Party. And at that particular time in history, the Republican Party, there were two wings of the Republican Party. But it was, for the most part, a progressive development in history. Wisconsin was an anti-slave state, and it was also the birthplace of public sector unionism. But if you go to Wisconsin now, I went to a diner, and they had a plate called the Robert E. Lee Special in Wisconsin. My parents grew up in Mississippi, and I never have seen the Robert E. Lee Special in my travels in Mississippi. We used to go there every summer. And so I went to the manager and I said, "What is this?" He said, it's really just biscuits and gravy. I was like, well, why not call it biscuits and gravy? I said, would you, get some hot dogs and call it the Heinrich Himmler Special? It's the same goddamn thing, really. And he said, oh, okay, I'll talk to the owner. He doesn't know these things. He's from Italy. But if you go to Wisconsin now, it feels like Arizona or Alabama. So it's very interesting. But if you look at the history of Wisconsin, a history of struggle against cutbacks and the declining social services, and go all the way back to the 80s, and you go to the right-wing organizations, foundations in Wisconsin that spent massive millions, hundreds of millions of dollars during the Clinton administration to get these bills passed. See, a lot of the things that we're witnessing around the country now, the pilot programs actually began in Wisconsin.
That's right. W-2.
The W-2, exactly.
Yeah, I remember.
And we all remember the welfare queen, the welfare king, and things like that. And as long as that was situated in the corridor, and Milwaukee, which is a black city, and Racine, the rest of Wisconsin kind of wasn't paying attention. And unfortunately, they kind of had bought into these racist stereotypes that were being spread so they can support these anti-worker. It was actually against their interest. They just didn't know it at the time. Things that were happening. But something happened when Walker made that decision to curtail the bargaining rights of unions. You see, when you hit the public sector, because I grew up in the Rust Belt, and I don't care what map you read, Wisconsin is part of the former industrial sector of the country. And when those jobs in the factories are being shuttered, what our parents were telling us is go take that social service test and get a public sector job because it's got benefits and it's the only stable job and it's hard to discriminate because you take a test to get it. That's what they were. So we're dealing with a generation of people who grew up with that idea that they would be protected in this job. Or the people who were thrown out of the factories and this was their second career. But when you do that, you affect everybody. Because everyone has to have a teacher at some point in their life. They require somebody to pick up the garbage on the curbside. They require somebody to clean the schools, whether it's the high schools, primary schools, or universities, and these are public sector workers. And in that process of that rising up, people were transformed.
That's right.
Struggle is the great socializer.
That's right.
Really just the whole process of being, a worker socializes all of us. But when we're involved in struggle in all of our interests, you might have the most backward person. And this will affect them. And they may have held on to these beliefs for years that were passed down from their parents. But during that process of struggle, they can be changed. It is a magical thing, really. Well, it ain't so magical, but just to watch it happen and watch people change and to go through that change. Sharon was there in the Capitol at Madison. She was sleeping on the floor with a lot of people, so she can tell you herself of the conversation she was able to have with people. But we have to look at this particular period in history. See, this ain't like the 80s when all the cutbacks went during the Reagan administration. What we are dealing with, really, is we had years and years of the public treasuries at every level of government being saddled with debt by the bondholders and financial institutions. Years and years. And so that's connected to the overall crisis that we are facing in this country. And the fact that the banks and the corporations have found it's not like they're not becoming profitable anymore. It's just their rate of profit has somewhat declined. And so they are fearful. And so they want even more that money to come back to them. And so when the politicians tell you that we have to tighten the belt and that we all have to suffer, well, the bankers are not suffering. They are not the ones suffering. The ruling elite in this country aren't the ones suffering. And what does that tell you? The politicians, and I'm not talking about all of them. Obviously, we have Cynthia Mckinney here. She's a people's candidate. But the government itself is a government that does the bidding of those in control of the society. And so I don't care how nice a person might be. I don't care if they look you in your eyes when they shake your hands. When they go behind closed doors, they do something entirely different. They do what they were elected to do. And that is to make sure that the bankers get the interest paid on the debt that the public treasuries have been saddled with. It's not a matter of there not being... Yes, there is declining revenue because of the loss of jobs, because of the shuttering of factories, because of the subsidies that have been given to the corporations. There's a loss of revenue. That's honest. But there is plenty of money to provide for people's needs. It goes to the bankers and financial institutions, and it goes to the Pentagon. It's a matter of priorities. And why are their priorities that way? It's because of the system itself. The government, as an institution, is a reflection of how the society is organized. And the society is organized around a system that is based off of profit. And you get profit is derived from exploitation. You can't get profit without exploiting people, not machines. People, labor is how they derive their profit. Because they can always go, you can't go to a machine and say, hey, we got to pay you less. That's dead labor that's put into building those machines that the workers use to make products that the bosses then sell to make a profit. They get it from you. By bleeding you dry.
That's right.
By hitting you over the head and making you take more and more concessions. So what period are we in right now? What is necessary? Look at Greece, and then I'll wrap up.
That's right.
They have had, 10 general strikes. Masses on the streets. They have shut down transportation throughout the country. And every single government in Greece has passed austerity measure after austerity measure.
So have.
Because Greece, it isn't so much just about the ruling elite in Greece. It's about international finance capital.
That's right.
It's about the IMF and the World Bank. It's about the European Commission. And it's about the banking interests in the U.S., which is the capital of world finance capital around the world. So they're not only fighting their bosses, they're fighting the bosses of the global capitalist system. Because it's well integrated. So what does that mean for us? It means that in order for us to get the necessities of life for ourselves to survive, and the necessities of life for us, we have a right to housing.
That's right.
You have a right to health care. You have a right to education. You have a right to a job at a living wage. You have a right to live in an environment that is not polluted. You have a right to dignity. You have a right to walk down the street without worrying about some cop jumping out of the car and shooting you in your back. You have a right to decide how your community is going to be managed. And you have a right to every institution that governs your life. That's people power.
That's right.
And how do we build it? I don't care if people are fighting for a stop sign or a street light. We want to be involved in that struggle. If you are fighting against somebody being killed by a cop, we want to be in that struggle.
That's right.
If you're fighting against war and imperialism and fighting for how, if you have a next door neighbor who is being foreclosed on and being kicked out of their house, if the sheriffs get there before you can mobilize and they put their stuff on the streets, you put it back in the house. And when the sheriffs come back and you say nobody's being evicted today, tomorrow, or ever, you can go do something else. Go arrest the banker. Go to Wells Fargo and get the manager and drag him out in cuffs. The real criminals. But nobody's being kicked out of the house today. Ain't nobody being arrested today. Sorry for wasting your time. That's the type of struggle we need. Building people's confidence by winning no matter how big the battle is. But getting people to understand that all these things are fleeting in a society based off of profit. And the only way to protect our interests permanently is to fight and to seize power. And it ain't going to happen after the end of this meeting. And it most likely ain't going to happen tomorrow or next week or next year. That'd be great if we can leave here and go, to the city hall and, tell them that, thank you for your services, but you can go home now. We'll take over from here.
You can fire Ben Cardin.
Absolutely. It's a process, and it takes many forms. And some of the forms is that we support and we build up people's candidates. That's one form, but that isn't the final form. That is not the form that's going to get us there. Because, I always say we didn't get the right to vote by voting for it.
That's right.
We got it by fighting and people dying for it.
Yes.
And the only way we're going to win a society that we deserve, that we need, that the people of Afghanistan need. The greatest act of solidarity to the people of Afghanistan is overturning this brutal system.
That's right.
You see, and then this is my final thing. My brother is in the military, and he went to Iraq, and I said, man, I love you, but if you get killed over there, I can't go to a military funeral. I will remember you in my own way, but I'm not going to sit there with some honor guard and, because you're my brother and I love you, but to the people of Iraq, you're just like the cops in my community. And that's real. That's real. And that person who left, if he was really tired of being cycled in and out of one war zone to the next, and I might get in trouble for this, but if you're pissed off at war and you want to kill somebody, go drag your damn officer out of the tent. Because the people, those children and women that you killed, ain't never done nothing to you.
That's right.
That's right.
Ain't never done nothing to you. So thank you for for being here, and I'm sure we're going to be back. And we'll keep coming back and hopefully build this process everywhere, on a block, in the neighborhood, in the city, throughout the state. Continue having these meetings, and I'm honored to be doing this with Cynthia Mckinney and all of you. And all power to the people, and let's make it real. Thank you.
That's why I have the moderator and not the speaker, because I'm new to the political world, so I'm learning a lot, and I'm not the best speaker in the world either. But that was awesome.
Excellent job.
Thank you. I know you all are really anxious to get started, but before we do, I do want to introduce Sharon Black. to make an important announcement real quick. Okay. Thank you, Shannon. And that's not true. She is a powerful speaker, and at the Reed's demonstration, she took the microphone to expose racism when she came from San Antonio, Texas, and was greeted by some racist police coming into Baltimore City. So actually, sisters and brothers, sometimes you come north to find more racism. But at any rate, I had two very short announcements, and I would have waited till at the end, but I'm a little nervous. People start to leave after a certain while, and they're critical announcements that are very time sensitive. The one is not so much an announcement, but really to recognize Lena Redmond from Workers United Union Hall, who's been so gracious. And, you know, it's a big sacrifice because she works every day, 8, 10, 12 hours. Union staff people, they're literally slaves to the union struggle. And she's stayed here, you know, to be able to open up the doors to this union hall, to the community, without charging us anything. So we got to give Lena Redmond and Workers United a big hand. And it's also C.D. Witherspoon's godmother. But we have to thank the union movement for everything that they've done when they've come out and done the right thing to support us. I also have to make a plug for the postal workers. We were out in Frederick Sunday. The only reason they're not here is they have a town hall meeting. People know that the postal workers are under dire attack, and 200,000 workers are slated to lose their jobs, union jobs, in a job that's really predominantly women and African American, Latino people who've been able to get a job now are now being pushed out. So we were out there with them on Sunday to fight to reopen the Frederick plant, and we've been in a whole struggle around that, and you'll hear a lot more about it. But my announcement is time sensitive. It's about tomorrow. People have seen this horrific massacre of 16 unarmed civilians, a lot of them babies, right, brothers, right, a lot of them babies and children. This is not an aberration of the system. It's a product of imperialism. You cannot have occupations or wars without whipping up racism, all the other isms, without dehumanizing people. You just can't do it. And it's a war based on propping up the 1%, the generals, the very, very wealthy, the oil corporations, et cetera, et cetera. And in a city like Baltimore, and all of you are from Baltimore, most of you that I see, except for the brother from Delaware, you know, you go block by block and you see boarded up housing. 50%, over 50% of the youth of Baltimore City do not have jobs. Literally, the millions and billions, really trillions that they spend on the military budget to literally massacre, to do what they did in Afghanistan, could be spent to put the youth of Baltimore City back to work. Now, I'm saying that because we don't care what our size is tomorrow. We feel that there has to be something said about this massacre, to demand jobs, not war crimes, to say war crimes equals imperialism. We have to be out there. Tomorrow, sisters and brothers, at 5 o'clock at McKeldin Square, we're going to be out there with signs to protest this massacre and to demand jobs, education, housing, and health care. So we implore you to join us, those who can. McKeldin Square, the people from Occupy, who are so quiet and sitting in the back, they know where that's at because that's where they camped out at. We're going to be on that corner during rush hour, 5 to 6, holding signs. Come and join us tomorrow to say U.S., NATO, out of Afghanistan. We have to seize the time to make those demands known. The only way to end war crimes is to get the U.S. out of Afghanistan, frankly, out of the world. Thank you. Thank you, Missionary. Okay, so as Ms. McKinney said, one of the most important objectives tonight is that we find solutions. So before I open the floor for comments, questions, and testimony, I did want to go over a few things that I want to expect from you all so that we can hopefully allow the meeting to run smoothly and allow you to leave empowered. If you have a cell phone, if you would just please make sure that it's on vibrate or silent. If you have to make or take a call, feel free to use the back area upstairs to do that. That way we don't interrupt the meeting. I think that Stephen, right? He's going to be going around with this so that you all can speak into the microphone so that we can all hear you. So make sure that you raise your hand so I can see you, so I can call on you, and you have a chance to share. Of course, we do want to be respectful of everyone's opinions. With so many different people in the room, naturally there's going to be different opinions on things. So it's okay if you don't agree with something. Just raise your hand to speak on that, but also be respectful, of course, of what others are saying. Another important thing to do is just to keep your comments brief and to the point, because we want to allow everybody a chance to share. I have a little sign, might be too small, but it says, please wrap up. So that'll let you know you have about a minute. We figure about 3 minutes per person should be pretty good. So when I hold the sign up, just know that it's kind of coming to an end. You don't have to stop right then, but just kind of be wrapping that up. That way we can have a chance to let Ms. McKinney and Larry and Reverend Witherspoon summarize things that have gone on in the session. Trying to think what else. I think that's about it. If we follow those, it should be a very positive and effective meeting. Okay? So do you want to go ahead and...
Hello, my name is Ken Ford. How this really affects me is that back in 2005, I was convicted of the Espionage Act of 1917. I was the only one in history convicted of the Espionage Act without them meeting the elements of the statute. And as I'm listening to, and after, I just got out in August of 2011. Jesus. And as I'm listening to and trying to catch back up to with society, I'm just almost just basically in awe, because society is, these bankers, this have this totally, I say, destroyed the country. Sure society is a whole lot worse off when I returned back into society when I went in 2006. And I'm about finding a solution to this. I'm about the Occupy movement. I've seen Occupy everything. I've seen Occupy the law. I've seen Occupy and I'm just reactivating myself back into society. If I'm misrepresenting what's going on, I'm just trying to get back into society. And like, again, you just basically, society is a whole lot worse off. Society's more aggressive. These bankers are more aggressive. Yeah. And I say, is this a tumbling down effect? The bankers are more treacherous, so society's going to be more treacherous. Right. And I try to implement my talents and try to help turn this all around and find solutions to what has happened and effectively put some of these bankers in jail. That's if right. Not all of them.
I want to take notes.
Okay, I know better.
Okay, I would like for each of the persons that comes up to also give us an action associated with what they view as an issue area for us to become involved in. So now, but you didn't even tell, 1 minute about why you were convicted of espionage. This is a man who was convicted of espionage. He's a spy.
He's black. He had to have done it.
Yeah. And made a mistake.
So, anyway, and that's because he didn't lie.
That's right.
And say that there were weapons of mass destruction.
In Iraq.
In Iraq. Oh, my. He wouldn't lie, and therefore they sent him to prison.
And tried to kill him. We're going to kill him, and his mother thwarted that. We're lucky he's here today. Lucky he's alive.
That's right. Is there anything that this group can do to help in your situation? Randy?
I have a suggestion, just because I'm sort of his publicist. We need to lean on the Attorney General, whose name I get angry, I forget his name. Holder, who's notorious. He hasn't seen a person of color or a poor person anywhere that he doesn't think should be killed or jailed since he's had any kind of job in law enforcement. We should also go after, so we need to have some sort of campaign to put Eric Holder, who's refused to respond to Mr. Ford's case. He's innocent. He did nothing. They proved nothing. He never even pled. He has such a good case, they've simply decided to ignore him, along with all the other horrible things that Mr. Holder has done, from representing the murder of black and Latino workers in Colombia, to him saying that it's right for the government to kill people all over the world, from him having weapons sent to murder people, our brothers and sisters in Mexico. We have a person who used to walk the president with his dog. This man used to walk with Clinton while he smoked cigars. How could a person that's around the president, walking with him with his dog at night, be a spy? This man had a security clearance fewer than 50 Americans in the country had. The very people that convicted him didn't have the level of clearance of the person that they convicted. Not a DUI, not a parking ticket, not a credit problem, and he went to jail. We need to go also not after Mr. Holden, but the Bureau of Prisons. We need to have a whole project for returning citizens, for people who've been either wrongly convicted or the victims of this drug war, that we begin to challenge the laws nationally. That if you go to jail and you serve your time, you can come out within reason and find work and housing. As well, we should also go after the entire state of Maryland, whether it's the House of Delegates, whether it's Mrs. Mikulski. We also should be after Cardin. We should be after all of them because he's a Maryland citizen, a Maryland resident, a rising star in the NSA, and then suddenly he tells the truth, and they decide to destroy his life. And his house got taken probably by Bank of America and so forth. Everything that could happen. And so we need to think about how we form a committee where it could be called the Kenneth Ford Project, but it's for all of the prisoners, all of the people being framed, all of the people whose homes are being taken, to challenge them. And also to go after these banks that take people's homes. I'm sorry, I'm finished, McKinney.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken.
Different political figures, Cardin's office, Mikulski's office, and everything I do I can stand on. I've been to jail. I can show you the prison industry inside and out. I can show you how the public defender and the state's attorney work together to enslave our people.
Of course they do.
And they can't deny nothing. I went to court and I fired my lawyer and defended myself.
That's right.
You feel me? Ignorance of the law is no excuse of the law. Knowledge of the law is priceless. And in Maryland, law for sale.
Size better.
Governor O'Malley set in place this program with the zero tolerance, and he did it with the help of Ed Norris and the media here in Baltimore, Maryland. He did it with the Baltimore Sun. He did it with the WJZ. He did it with that change in that power that they got. Now, they locked me up here in Maryland. They thought of me I was going to cop out and I was going to plea out. No, I took it to trial. I want 12 people to tell me I did something wrong or six to bury me. I'm from the ghetto. I'm from the gutter. I don't know no better. You know what I'm saying? I'm a 50s baby. When Martin Luther King was up there protesting in Chicago, I was throwing rocks at police. And I ain't from Palestine. You understand? And if we don't teach our youth how to stand up and fight, you're going to lose the battle. I don't go around, and everybody in this room will tell you, I don't go around with 50 people, 20 people, 30 people. I go around by myself. Because we got to fight this battle the way that they fight the battle. We got to fight it in a guerrilla warfare type thing.
There you go.
And they know me, that I ain't scared of nothing. I ain't scared to go to jail, and I ain't scared to die. You can't kill what's already dead. You feel me? And you dead when you don't fight for your people, and you don't fight for what you do. It don't take 1,000 people to march. It take one person to make that sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? The Ku Klux Klan started with 4 men on Stone Mountain in Georgia.
That's right.
All right?
Tell us.
Martin Luther King was thrust into his thing. He didn't ask to be that. He was thrust into that leadership. Malcolm X was thrust into that leadership. But one thing that we all share in common, we all went to jail. So we know from the bottom to the top how to do this. I can transcend from the gutter to the government, and ain't nothing they can do to stop me. Mikulski know me, Cardinals know me, and they dumb asses signed my papers telling them I was making a movie, but they didn't know I was making a movie about them. When they found out I was making a movie about them, it was too late. I gave Cynthia Mckinney all the paperwork she needed to start whatever she wanted to do, and I got a court date. Y'all remember I had a trial and nobody showed up, but I had a trial and I won my case. I had 12 people tell me I was innocent for putting a toilet in front of a courthouse because you shit on me and I shit on you. Wow. Now didn't nobody ask to look at the names on that toilet. That toilet was on North Avenue for a month in front of the school board. My court date is May 18th. And everybody know when they throw them stories on WJZ, I was a terrorist, I did all this, I did all that. If I did all that, why am I sitting here talking to you? If I fired my lawyer and defended myself, I got more skills than the natural man, and I'm a high school dropout. Alright? You learn how to read and write, you can do anything in this world that you put your mind to. This was a joke to me, because if I took it serious, it would have affected me differently. Daddy will tell you, if you got a job and you make the job fun, it ain't work. You feel me? And everybody know how stupid I am. But when we come inside that courthouse and we step in front of that man and that judge, games ain't to be played. Things need to be done. And if you want to make the change in the courtroom. You can march all you want. But if you're going to make a change, you got to make it in the courthouse. You got to sit here and do class actions when you can prove that it's been done with a class of people. And you get those people's stories, like Mr. Ford's story, Mr. Wiggins' story, your story, and your story, and you put them on a piece of paper. You got enough stories to tell the truth. Truth tell itself once. A lie got to be told again and again and again.
Sure enough.
Okay? I put a toilet in front of the courthouse, and I shitted on it. That's the truth.
While you're speaking, go ahead and raise your hand, and I'm having Michelle come around and take names. That way we can go a little bit quicker. Okay? Just raise your hand if you want to speak. Whoever wants to speak, raise their hand because I'm going to go around getting them.
Can you all hear me?
No, we need you to speak into this.
My name is David Anthony Wiggins, and I just want to dovetail on something that Shorty said about the court system. In Maryland and 12 other states, people have a right to appear before the grand jury to complain about things that dismay you or things that cause you concern. There's ample case law on this, and those of you who know me know that I have the documentation from Judge Bell which says that people in Maryland have that right. But people in West Virginia have that right. People in Georgia have that right. People in Maine have that right. Then there are some other states, I think, I forget all of them. I know New Jersey is another one. But in Maryland, you have a right to appear before the grand jury. When you say you send your children to a school-to-prison pipeline where they are involved in test score cheating, and the top administrator gets a $40,000 increase a year for fraud, and they want to build a youth jail, but you don't want to come to court and hold them accountable. On the 15th of February this year, at the courthouse, this man and I and Brother Abdul Jabbar Khalif were met by at least 30 to 40 Baltimore City sheriffs, Baltimore City police, SWAT, the ATF, the FBI, NSA, Foxtrot flying around us for 6 hours because we asked you all to come down and occupy the court. We were going to take our charges before the grand jury.
They met us at the door with all of that force to stop us. That day, no foreclosure sales took place at that courthouse. That day, no business went on at that courthouse.
Wow.
All commerce, all commercial ventures. You want to get married, you go to a courthouse. You want to get divorced, you go to a courthouse. Constellation Energy wants to merge with BGE, they got to do it in the courthouse. Exelon, right. You're absolutely correct. You have to do it in the courthouse. Thurgood Marshall didn't go to the legislature for justice. He went to the courthouse. If you want justice, you have to fight where you go to get justice. You know, the school to prison pipeline that we all talk about, the front end is the schools, the back end is the prison. And all of that is done in the courts. What happened to the Thornton money that the court said that your children are supposed to get?
The state took it.
The state took it. And who's holding them accountable in the courts?
Nobody.
You're in the courts right now fighting for HBCUs. You're in the federal courts. All of the civil rights violations that all of you complain about. No one has filed a complaint with the FBI for 18 U.S.C. 242 violations, 18 U.S.C. 241 violations. When they deny you equal access to the courts, that's a violation of your civil rights. It's conspiracy. Rod Rosenstein is a criminal here in Baltimore. He's the assistant U.S. attorney, Holder's boy, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to do something in Maryland, you want to hold Bush accountable, you want to hold Obama accountable for war crimes.
All of them.
Yes.
You want to hold them accountable, you can take them to the grand jury in Montgomery County.
Truth, too.
For 911 truth, you can take
Bush. Let's get Bush's ass.
In Maryland, you can do that. Many of them have dual residencies here in Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
In Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Frederick County, Eastern Shore. You can open up in this state and in Georgia and in some of the others that I mentioned, like West Virginia. You can hold these public officials accountable through what is known as private prosecution. Private prosecution is not dead in America, and you have a right to it if you just use it. And if they would spend more than $1.5 million to stop us from going into the courthouse, imagine the power that you have using it.
Judge Roberts in April of 2010, Judge Roberts at Arizona State University graduation said that if you don't get justice through the American judicial system, you got a right to approach the World Court. And Senator Cardin sits on the Helsinki Commission on the World Court for human rights violations. If you want to get Cardin, make Cardin do his job or make him quit.
He ain't doing it, make him quit.
That's what I'm saying. Make him do it or make him quit.
Or vote him out.
You ain't got to vote him out.
No, get him out.
They know, vote him out.
Vote him enough. Get his ass out. Go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lee Patterson, and I'm glad to be able to speak at this meeting tonight and being the president of Cynthia Mckinney and the Fight Back Network that's organizing this fight back. I need to say something to people that's very important, and this is about homelessness. Homelessness is a weapon that the capitalists use against poor working people. People have become credit scores, have become walking dollar signs, and nobody under the system has the right to a home anymore. The landlords get away with everything, and there's nobody to speak for the tenants or the homeowners.
That's right.
Nothing is being done to aid the tenants who are dealing with the situation where homelessness in this country is getting out of control.
That's right.
Folks are unaware of the scope of how disastrous this problem is with homelessness. People are losing their right to a home, a right to an apartment. We see rents going beyond the universe, $2,500 and beyond $3,500 for housing, basic apartments.
That's right.
People can't afford to of the basics of having a home. This is getting outrageous. For those of you who think that it can't happen to you, all you gotta do is get sick. Get sick under capitalism, and it's you are screwed. Because those who are vying for the presidential nomination of this country are concerned about your right to not have a home. They're building jails instead.
No health care either.
They don't want to give anybody their health care. Because of capitalism, I have kidney disease, 5th stage. Folks have got to become politically conscious in this country. Turn off TMZ and look at what's happening to our people.
Come on, brother.
We got to get folks aware of what's really happening in this country.
That's right.
Fascism is around the corner. We've got to understand that the extremists in this country want to take power from all political people, kill us all or kill us all. Like they did to the folks in Afghanistan. Sure, it's right when we got to get out there tomorrow and do what we got to do to say no to this U.S. war in Afghanistan. We're going to take this money from human needs and putting people in the streets while they have champagne parties and while they have booth launch and everything else. They throw champagne on the poor people to tell you, get a job. You know, where are the jobs? Where are the housing? Why should we sleep in the streets while you party at nighttime? It's time to tell the bourgeoisie we ain't taking this shit no more. If they want to fight, we'll give them a fight. And we're going to win this fight. Because it's history. And the fact of the matter is that poor people have to stand up. Homelessness is a crime. Everybody should have a house. In the richest country in the world, they're going to tell you that they can't find you a home. Look at all these abandonment areas around Baltimore City. It is criminal. It is absolutely an indictment on the system of capitalism that must come to an end. Because we cannot no longer fight for just the next presidency or the next Congress or whatever. Because all politicians do, and we know Cynthia Mckinney here is what the people. But all these politicians do is take money from the corporations and screw the people.
That's right.
We can't allow that kind of system to exist anymore. Where profits come before people. Where people have to sleep in the streets so the rich can party and live extravagantly at our expense. It can't happen anymore. I'm going to wrap up with this. We have to fight for the right to have a house, to have a home. We need to form a tenants union in Baltimore City. We did the people campaign for rent control back in '78, and that scared the shit out of these people.
Good.
It's time for the folks to take it to the next level and get a tenants union organized and tell these landlords that we ain't taking this crap no more. It's time for us to stand up and demand that people are human beings. We deserve houses, rich country world. You can't give us houses in this system. It's time to fight for a new system and fight for people's rights all over this world. Thank you.
Reginald?
Hello, how everyone's doing?
Good, and you?
I'm doing fine. I'm just, I just came in here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not an elegant speaker, or anything like this. This is the first time I've ever did anything like this.
You're in the right place.
I'm a youth. I'm only 18 years old.
Good.
So I'm on the forefronts of all this. I'm out here and I'm experiencing everything. I'm experiencing the snowball effect of all this. And I see it every day on a first-hand basis. I see what people call my peers of my generation. I see it. It is a systematic exploitation of people.
Yes,
they use the education system to dumb you down.
That's right.
So you don't pay attention.
That's right.
They use the food to make you sick, so you get sick and you can't go to work.
Go ahead now.
It's all one big capitalist system. And listen to the word capitalism. It comes from capitalize. What does it mean to capitalize?
Come on now.
To take advantage of. To capitalize. And I came up with this thing, I call them capital offenses. And they say, oh, a capital offense. No, it's a capital offense because they're robbing the poor. They're like vampires and leeches. And I tell people, we fight bombs with food. We fight guns with books.
Yes, yes.
This is what we have to do. I'm a youth, and I see it and I feel it. Every day I get up, I'm homeless. I can't get a job. Yes, I'm homeless. So I experience this. I walk through these streets all day, and I see it. I see the look on people's faces. It's like they have no hope no more. It's like they have no hope.
Right.
And we need
destroying them.
We need the youth. We need to get it to the youth because it's their job. After all us is gone, we have to find a way to educate the youth, teaching them morals and values, and teach them to love each other because no one loves each other. The only thing they are taught is how to capitalize. To get a job, you have to get over on someone.
Right.
The capitalists are teaching our children. They're teaching them the capitalist ways, and that's why people are not standing up for it because they feel as though it's normal to them. They have become desensitized to it now through education and entertainment and everything. News, television, books, the school system, it's all one big circle. They all play with each other and they all sit up there, like you said, and drink while we down here crying, drinking our own tears. They drinking champagne.
That's right.
You know, and I feel it every day, and this is just what I feel within my soul, within my heart. And I love all people, and I feel like we all need to get together, black, white, no matter what. But we all need to find a way to connect our issues and bring ourselves together, and especially the youth. We really need that's my thing, is the youth. We really need to find a way to reach the youth because they're the ones, because they're so susceptible to this. And I thank you for allowing me and giving me this opportunity.
If you could recommend one thing to the International Action Center that they could do to address what's happening in your immediate world, what would that be?
It would be the number one thing that I see that's wrong. I could say the number one thing. It would be, I would say jobs, because that's the foundation of it. People have no money to eat, so in turn they force themselves to do these things to eat. It's basically it forces us into
crime,
survival mode, which leads to crime and poverty, and it leads to that.
You know what I heard? You know what I heard him say? He said jobs in plural. He didn't speak to any specific need for himself.
Right. That's right. He sure did.
And my question
And he articulated what his condition was. But he didn't speak to any specific need for himself.
Exactly.
Because it's not about me.
So what are you going to do tonight? Tonight, you're homeless. You're in a state of nothing right now. What are you going to do the next hour?
You're trying to survive the next hour.
Trying to survive.
How? Tell us how.
Anyone that I come in contact with, any person that I get into a conversation with, I try my best to lift them up and tell them that it's going to be, because I meet many people just like me, and I've gained the ability to overcome it, but they haven't. So now it is my job to teach them how to overcome that situation, because I've learned it, but they haven't learned it. So it's now my job. I do it poetically, musically, through arts, I do poetry, and I'm trying my best to get my message out there through all many different. I may be young right now, but I'm gearing up.
You're brilliant.
To push this through arts, books,
You are beyond
anything.
your years, my brother.
Thank you.
Beyond your
God
years.
got your back.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And
Hand on you, my friend.
I'm just gonna try as hard as I can to do everything in every way. I'm not gonna keep my mind closed to one way or one issue. I'm gonna try to dream as far as I can and focus on what's now and keep moving forward. And I don't know where I'm gonna end up.
You make sure everybody in this room has your contact information.
That's
you make
right.
sure everybody in this room has
Thank
your contact information.
C right. C-Right, SEAWRIGHT. But I think y'all.
Yes.
Yes, I have
Put that
one
up
for
there
that.
too, please.
Okay.
What's your contact, brother?
443-804-8542. Reginald C. Wright.
Do you have email?
Yes.
Yes. REGG SC
SE
C as in cat OLA @yahoo.com.
I have one question to ask you. Do you have any involvement with Child and Family Services in the city? Is there anything like that in the universe?
Well, my mom and my sister, they're in the same situation that they're in, and my mom's a drug addict, and she's trying to find housing because she's homeless also. And my sister, she's still a minor, and she's trying to find housing because we're all split up. And she's going to the people trying to get programs, trying to find housing, and they won't pull her case.
I know someone that works in. I'll try what I can do for you, brother, as soon as I get home. So I'll make certain I get your number.
Okay.
I'll see. One of my friends works with the folks. I'm not saying, but try. I'll do my best.
Okay, and that's all we can do. We can.
Dr. Short and Andre, too, also works with social services.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're all where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there, right? All right, Bernie, next.
I just basically wanted to use my comments to follow up on what the last two speakers were saying, and that is to say that we need to get really serious here at the moment. We have a problem in this country. We have a nation in decline, economic decline. Following up from what the last speaker was saying, I saw a devastating statistic that there is 1.5 million children in this country who are homeless. That's half the number of homeless people that are living on the streets in this country. And we have got to understand that we are in an economy now where human labor is being replaced. And human labor is being replaced by electronic robots that manufacture the goods and services that the corporations put out. And we have got to separate, and I'm not disagreeing with the speaker about jobs, but we have to separate the right from a job from the basic needs this country has for housing, health care, and education. I don't know what national programs there are now that address the conditions of the poorest of the poor. I know programs like AFDC no longer exist. There still is a WIC program, but the programs that were in place to address the needs of the poorest of the poor are basically in the and I think we should do all we can to see that we beef up these programs, and so that we don't have these, and all these vacant properties we see, we need to put people in those vacant homes. We need to put teachers in the schools. We need to put people into skills that they need, so that we can have we can have people run their own businesses and work cooperatives, and because I think that's the way that we're going to turn things around. Thank you so much.
Ted?
What's his name?
Ted.
Hello, my name is Ted Smith. I'm a teacher within the Baltimore City Public School System. I've been teaching. How you doing? I've been teaching there for 16 years. It's been rough doing it. I agree with everyone that says it is a school-to-prison pipeline. Just this year, the young gentleman that was 13 years old that was shot 12 times, that was my student. The one that was shot at Towsontown Mall, that was my student. And the persons that shot him, I taught. I see lives destroyed. The student that was shot up at Towsontown Mall, he left 8th grade at my school, read on a 3rd grade level. I was in the midst of arguments with my principal saying there's no way that we can just send him on. Not even saying that retention was the solution, but I said there has to be some wraparound services. If you just send him on at a 3rd grade, you're just sending him to the streets. And what happens within the Baltimore City Public School System is that if you stand up to the powers or you speak the truth, then they come after you.
That's right.
So I risk just my job trying to stand against either social promotion. A lot of the same students that end up going off to the streets, many times there's a lot of bottled up anger because a lot of just both the neighborhood, community, family situations. Many fathers are nowhere to be seen. Many people raised in foster homes, substance abuse issues, so many different issues, so much anger. And when it comes out, what the school system wants to do is to sweep it under the rug. The less people you suspend, the better you look good on paper. So what they want to do is look excellent on paper while the school is off the hook. And then, if you speak up on it, then the next person, if a child, you might have 75% of the children with you. Somebody going through their issues, and they might say, okay, bitch, get out of my face, just because they have bottled up anger. They're blind. They have anger, so they lash out. And so, I don't take it personal, but it has to be addressed, because if it's not addressed, then it spreads to other students. And what happened is administrators trying to get back at you, will send that student back to your classroom. They'll try to make it, continue on that way. And we have you talk about the 1%, but we have a CEO of schools. They're calling you CEO so you can aspire to be like the 1%. In tandem with the Gates Foundation, every administrator that he's put on board is 40 or younger. The one at my school is 31. The one at Dunbar High School is 29. He's trying to remake the school in his own image to continue on the corruption. But a lot of teachers are afraid to speak out because if you speak out, you risk your job. And so I just wanted to just real quickly give some solutions because I know you were heavy on solutions. One book that I would advocate that everybody read is The Death and Life of the Great American School System. It's by Diane Ravitch, who was the former Secretary of Education. And in that book, she talks about how there's a billionaires boys club, like the Gates Foundation and the Walton Family Foundation, these billionaire foundations that control education. And their goal is to break teachers' unions. So I would say a couple different solutions, just in the interest of time. First, I think with all of these issues that we should create some type of political action committee to be able to fund our own candidates, even on a local level, to be able to be on the funding side, to be able to support those issues that we believe in. I believe that we need to get rid of high-stakes testing, and because nowadays they just teach to the test, and it's still a dumbing down. Kids are no more educated now than they were before. I would argue far less. I think that we need to fight for the elimination of No Child Left Behind, as well as the race to the top. Also, every issue that we're talking about, whether it's prison, whether it's job, it all starts within the school. So I think that a contingent from this group should be at every school board meeting, that our voices need to be heard. I think that also similar to the group Red Emmas, similar to the Black Panthers back in the day, we need to have some type of free school or some type of supplementary school where we tell our story. In school, they tell his story, the 1% story. We need to tell our story. We need to make certain that our young people know the story of Kenneth Ford. Our young people know the story of Cynthia Mckinney. Our young people know the truth behind the lies. And also, I think that we need the same rules for public school that we have for charter schools. Because what they do for charter schools, that's an opportunity. They try to use that to break the unions. And what they do with the charter schools is they allow them to kick out anybody that they want and have their own set of rules that regular public schools can't do. And then say, well, why can't you achieve like the charter school? And the reason why you can't achieve is because they give them a different set of rules. So I think that they should have the same set of rules. I think that we need to demand a certain amount of money for school facilities. If you have money to invest in a youth detention facility, then you have money to invest in facilities for young people. And the last two issues and solutions is people talked about the Thornton money. We need to insist on the Thornton money. We have been underfunded for Baltimore City Public Schools for too long. Also, nutrition needs to be, it starts with nutrition. Too many young people come to school hyped up because the corner store is selling so much junk. There has to be some type of nutrition to begin to build up young people. And that's it.
Are you familiar with International Action Center? And have you been involved with them in the past, or is this new?
I have traveled first with Workers' World, and I remember seeing all these faces with Workers' World. So they do just great work in terms with the community. I'm not as familiar with the International Action Center, but I would definitely be interested in being involved, because for me it's been
individual struggle. Just within my own school, I mean, I fight solo, and I feel alone, and I'm scared in terms of fighting, but then I gotta eat. Fighting, then I gotta eat, and so, and that's the situation that I'm in. But I would love to work, with the International Action Center.
And that is the purpose of this meeting. We don't want people to feel like they are fighting alone.
You're not alone, Ted.
Yes, thank you, Ted.
I don't know how long we have to. Not sure.
And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm here tonight representing the PICC, the Pan-African International Coordinating Committee. We believe that, as Brother Ted already pointed out, it's a serious problem. It's a serious problem from the pipeline to the prisons. And the reason I know it's a serious problem because I just retired after 21 years of working for this criminal enterprise known as the state of Maryland. I'm telling you, I see them every day. Well, I did before I retired. I seen them every day coming in there. You got more and more youth coming in there, and we're talking about we want education, but how can you give a person education if you can't even give them a job? How can you give a person a job if you can't give them an education? People got to have somewhere to live, somewhere to eat. You can't afford that here. Think about it. Every month, you're talking about what bill you going to pay. Do I pay my mortgage? Do I pay my food? Do I pay my rent? My medication? You putting all your bills in a hat and praying that somebody give you some relief. The only relief you're going to get is when you organize.
That's right.
It ain't going to come no other way. You can sit here and pray on your knees, and I'm a person that believes in God. But God ain't going to answer you if you don't do nothing.
That's right.
You got to put some faith behind that, some action.
Emmanuel.
I'm telling you for real. If you don't do nothing, you're going to see a whole nother generation behind that. And they ain't giving out no small times.
No.
You don't go to jail and they give you a slap on the wrist, a year, 2 years. I got a cousin doing 85 to life, and he ain't even did a crime, and he doing it with the feds.
You can rob it too, the feds.
You got people going to jail every day. But you know what's really sad? We got a brother right here in this state that's been locked up for 42 years by the name of Marshal Eddie Conway. And ain't hardly nobody raised a cry, a tear about this brother. This brother was railroaded. He was framed. He doing time for a murder that he didn't even commit. I mean, he got people that even on his job. I mean, let me tell you something about this brother. This brother worked for the United States Post Office. He was on camera at work. You can't be in two places at the same time. I can't be at work and be out here committing a murder. It's impossible. But the state didn't see it that way.
He's the right color.
Yeah, you're right. He the right color. He black just like you and me.
They see black all over the place.
Every day black people go to jail. We go for mass incarceration, and all we hear about is they did a crime. The real criminals ain't the one in jail.
Amen.
The real criminals, the same motherfuckers that sit down there in City Hall. The same people that you see sitting up there in the White House.
Yes.
I don't care if his name is President Obama. He a piece of shit.
You're right about that. You're right about that.
How can you get away with killing African people every day?
You're right about that.
And don't nobody cry about it.
That's right.
I would give a damn if this country ever gave out another job as long as I live. Capitalism is dying. I hope it die a rotten, horrible death. Don't you resurrect it. Don't go give no first aid to it. Don't do none of that. Let it die.
That's right.
Next month, we sponsoring a fundraiser for Marshal Eddie Conway, political prisoner, black liberation member. We talking about a brother that's doing some serious time. 42 years for a crime he ain't committed. We got another brother here by the name of Sunni Adekola.
That's right.
They moved this man down in Cumberland, Maryland. The man can't even get no visits because they lost everybody on his visit. Now, how you lose somebody's daughter? His wife, can't nobody come and visit a brother. I'm telling you, the real criminals ain't the ones that you see in jail. They walk around in pig blue every day. They walk around and they criminalize you with just standing on the corner.
Bro, you talk about being homeless, man, the real homeless people, we ain't even dealt with. We ain't even dealt with. It ain't a crime to be homeless, it's a crime to make you homeless. That's right. That's what the real goddamn crime is.
That's what I say. That's what I say.
I took a job and had to quit. I couldn't stand it. I worked 2 days, quit. I should be feeling the damn shame of myself. But I don't.
They want you to feel ashamed.
No, I can't feel ashamed. I feel ashamed for the people that are still working for the criminal industry. We're talking about mental health. I want to talk about mental health. The whole goddamn system is sick.
Yeah.
They make you sick. You wake up in the morning time being sick. This brother Lee, I know this brother. Brother got cancer.
Kidney disease.
Kidney disease, I mean. That's a cancer to me.
Yeah, it is.
Here's a brother that... You still homeless, Lee?
Yeah. Yep, we're both homeless.
Here's a brother that needs everybody's help. He can't even go down there and ask the damn mayor to do anything for him.
He seriously ignore us.
But I tell you what, let him stand out there with a picket sign there, lock his ass up tomorrow, he won't be homeless.
And he won't get out.
He won't be homeless tomorrow, I guarantee you that. Stand up for your rights, you won't be homeless. You're right, that's where you're going, to jail.
That's what he wanted to say.
You got a brother right here by the name of David Wiggins. I often say the brother missed his call in life. He did, he missed his call in life. You did, Dave. For real, you should be giving classes on law. That's what you should be doing. You should be giving mass classes because these people really need to understand the law. But it's like I said, the real criminals ain't the ones in jail. You need to demand that the real criminals get locked up. Red Emma need to be demanding the red criminals get locked up. WPPP need to be real. Matter of fact, why you ain't even got her down here? That lady, Sharon. The mayor.
The man wants to.
Yeah, she a damn criminal.
She don't want to see us.
You asked, did she wasn't invited to come here?
No, I'm saying why she ain't here.
She wouldn't show.
Jack Young won't show?
Joke Young.
Oh, that's what he is?
Joke Young.
I call him asshole. None of them showed up. This is where they should have been. Y'all should be holding them on tribunal.
Yep.
You should be demanding them to answer certain questions. Why is it that we ain't got no budget? Why is it we ain't got no jobs? We should be demanding. We should put them on trial.
Put Ben Cardin on trial.
You need to put it. Yeah, you're right. They called for a movement down City Hall.
Let me go join you then.
I'm gonna tell you, when that man called for that occupy the courts, I ain't lying. There was all 3 of us down there, and we shut the damn court system down. You would have thought the way they blocked off the streets, you would have thought that we came down there to blow the whole goddamn state up.
It was scared of you.
But what I want everybody to remember is that next month, you need to come out and support Eddie Conway. You need to support a brother that sacrificed his life for you.
What date is the trial, sir?
The date of Eddie Conway's fundraiser. Yeah, he already had an illegal trial.
Yeah, when is it?
It's the 21st of April. It's the 21st of April, and it's at Heber Brown's church.
Pleasant Hope.
Pleasant Hope, yeah. All the money that's raised in that fundraiser, it'll all go to Eddie Conway.
What time?
It starts at 4 to 6? Don't nan dime go in my pocket. And then in August, you need to come on down to Coppin State University. We have another conference down there. Political prisoners, prisoners of war, and prison rights.
Yeah. That applies so happily.
I came home, and people asked me what was I going to do since I've been home and retired. I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm putting the real people on trial.
That's right.
I'm holding people accountable. You can't call yourself representing the community and you don't represent the community that's locked up. Anybody tell you that they're a freedom fighter and they ain't talking about representing no people that's locked up, they ain't no damn freedom fighter. They're a goddamn joke. That's what they are. Sister, don't you dare give up your seat in Jericho. Stay as the chairman. You got a lot of support out here waiting to support you.
Oh, did you know Dr. Spry from Coppin State?
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you now, let's put the real criminals in jail and free Eddie Conway. I can't hear you.
Near the church.
Pleasant Hope Baptist Church. Pleasant Hope Baptist Church.
It's near York and Belvedere near the intersection.
Exactly. Oh, and by the way, they're getting ready to do a free Eddie Conway GED program. Ain't that what they said they were getting ready to do now? They're trying to establish that now. I'm telling y'all, support a man that supported you. He doing, 21st of April. He doing 42 years for defending your rights. Matter of fact, shit, we need to free all the damn political prisoners.
Thank you. Okay, I want to introduce another political leader and a personal friend of Cynthia Mckinney, Dr. Jahisa.
Yeah, I just came from Delaware to talk with Cynthia Mckinney on request from Dr. Short and to meet Mr. Ford and the other distinguished Mr. Osborne. Yeah, Mr. Osborne. And I was arrested. I'm a professor of history at Delaware State University in Dover, which is supposed to be a historically black college. I'm a product of all historically black colleges, from bachelor's to PhD, and didn't want to do anything else but teach at a black college. I was arrested March the 1st for assisting students in standing up for their First Amendment right. That's right. I was they arrested me for just assisting, being an advisor to students who were demanding for more African American professors at a so-called black college. Wow. And I wrote an article. It's called "How Black Colleges Are Turning White." It was called "How Black Colleges." You can Google it. It was published on the Black Agenda Report originally. The first 3 days, it got 7,000 hits. And the fourth day, somebody shut down the website. That's right. Yeah. They shut it down. And because I hit some you hit those bells, bing, and I hit some nerves with it. And there's with this Supreme Court decision coming down to end affirmative action, which means basically that it's over with as far as minorities, particularly African Americans who want to end higher education. It's a done deal. It's done. We're talking about Plessy versus Ferguson again. They're taking us back. And nobody's saying anything about it. It's probably one of the most important decisions as it regards African Americans in the last since Brown versus Board. And nobody has said anything. Well, this is what I did. I made a decision. I can't talk too much about the case because the ACLU did decide to take up my cause. I was just there assisting students who were advocating for their First Amendment right. Yeah, and some racist black cop. Racist. He's black. Racist black cop. And Randy can tell the story for me. But the students, I taught them to think. We studied in my classes. I had them reading the law. They studied Plessy. They studied Brown. I had them thinking. And they started looking at the Supreme Court case, and they began to ask questions. Well, if they shut down, if the Supreme Court comes back and say that higher education for African Americans is done with at the mainstream school, what do we mean? You're not going to be able to go to the University of Maryland at Baltimore. That's done. Yes. If you look at California, when they entered affirmative action in that state, not too long ago. That's right. With Ward Colony, right? That was his name?
Oh, yeah, that wonderful guy. Baby.
I went on the website about 4 months ago of the California state school system. African Americans enrollment at the California State University system is less than 3% now. Wow. And you know who that is, athletes. Yeah. And so now there's a move that's coming out. I identified them. I know who they are. They're coming out of the elite of this society to shut down, or really what they call it, what the game is that they're saying, okay, we're going to always have black colleges. It's just not going to be any black people in them. That's the game, right? And so I exposed them in my article. And so this is why I told people my arrest, illegal arrest, they arrested me and then accused me of false charges with video cameras there. The students were videoing.
That's right.
Right? And nobody never explained. They arrested me in the hospital in front of my wife and 4 children.
Good.
You know, I'm hooked up to machines. They walk in. This is the black college university. They sent a white cop and arrested me in the hospital and put me in jail because I taught my students how to think.
Yes.
Black students.
Bless you, sir.
And they were asking questions. Serious questions. Very questions. Students, college students. I didn't do anything different than what Charles Hamilton Houston did to Thurgood Marshall.
Go ahead.
I didn't do anything different than what the professors at A&T did to those students who did the sit-in. I didn't do anything different than those students at Alabama A&M and Montgomery who helped in the Montgomery boy bus cot. I didn't do any different than that.
That's right.
I did what I was taught to do, and that was a problem. You know, so we have a serious issue in this country with higher education, and it's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect everybody. This Supreme Court decision, when it comes down, I think they're going to wait until the summer to do it. When it comes down, it's going to be catastrophic.
Yes.
It doesn't just affect blacks, people, minority, women, any minority.
That's right.
Right? This is what they're saying. So this is my solution. What are the solutions? 1, we need to have 10,000 people before May, end of May, at the Supreme Court.
We need to
have 10,000 people to let them know we're not going back. Because people say, okay, I hear black people saying this all the time. Oh, we don't need that anymore. We got to pull ourselves up. But I'm like, are you crazy? Here are the same people who benefited. I benefited from it.
Thank you.
I benefited.
Saying that future generations should.
Yes. This is what they're saying.
That's right.
So I said, no. We're not going to give it up like that.
That's right.
We got to get people out at the Supreme Court and at the Department of Education. This is just something that I'm saying now, but we can do it. I haven't thought of the day. I think it needs to happen before school. It has to be young people. They have to go. We got to tell the kids that are in elementary school, like they did during the Civil Rights Movement, to go out and fight for your future. Because they are taking it away. They are taking it away. They're saying, this is what they're really saying with this move, with the affirmative action. And at the same time, they are ethnically cleansing all blacks from HBCUs. They're really saying, you don't have a right to be educated.
Not even a right to be in
and that's a human right.
That's right.
That's a human right. That's a human right. So I was arrested for teaching students that this was a human right at a college.
Now, why were you in the hospital?
I'm walking with a limp. I collapsed. I didn't know my blood pressure went over 200.
When you had 2 cops grab you, you don't know what's going to happen to you.
And I was injured. There's a lot of injuries, that I'm being treated on now. But they just came out of nowhere. I didn't see them coming, and they arrested me for just assisting black students who some of them come from Baltimore. They come from Philly. They come from New York because they said they wanted a historically black experience outside of their hometowns. They wanted the culture that historic. Y'all saw the movie Drums. What's that? Drumline. Yeah, they wanted that experience. That's what I wanted. That's why I went to college. I went because of the ladies. I ain't gonna lie. That's why I was like, that's where I'm going. But they wanted that experience. That's what they wanted. And they got there and they realized that it was a big sham. And I started exposing. I started writing. They paid me to write and think. And I started exposing it. And people around the world start reading it and asking questions. And they have a big problem with that. They don't really want us to think. at all. Not just in the elementary school, my brother. It's on the higher level too. It's all watered down. It's watered. They don't want us thinking at all anywhere. So you're absolutely right. So my suggestion is that we have to. Everybody's saying political organizing. I'm in with that. I suggest that we pick a date. We organize the country. If 10,000 may be too many, maybe we need 50,000. I don't know.
Yeah, a million.
Maybe we need a million man, woman march on the Supreme Court.
Everybody.
We got to let them know that means no. We're not gonna no.
Hell no.
Yes.
Yeah, I just had two things I wanted to ask you. One, can I get a copy of your curriculum and teach it in the streets? That's number one.
Most definitely. I have an open university policy.
And number two, I agree with what you were saying about we need to have demonstrators down at the Supreme Court. Maybe we need to go a little deeper. And here we're coming up with that Brown versus Board of Education decision, getting ready, the anniversary coming up.
Yes.
We need to have all the school students just walk the hell out the schools. Shut the goddamn legal education system down.
I agree. I agree.
I like that solution. I love that. They don't know what to do with all the people that walk out. I like that.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, you're in Delaware, but is there any way that all of us here could stay in contact so that we could organize this demo?
Most definitely.
At the Supreme Court, because, school is coming to an end. Colleges and high schools, especially colleges, finals are coming up, and, students are studying, and time is being taken up, and we want all the students, Morgan, Baltimore, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., a lot of schools in D.C., there are a lot of students and professors and high schools and everybody in the community, everybody will come out for this. Everybody will.
Yes.
What is your email address?
J.
Not related to the school.
No, well, they put me on administrative leave, and they banned me from coming to the school.
And he can't talk to his students.
I can't talk to, well, I told them that's against my First Amendment right. They wrote a letter and saying that I can't talk to any student or employee at the university.
What?
I mean, I told them you can forget that.
Okay, what's your contact?
It's JAHIISSA 65@gmail.com.
You can go to D.C. and GW, all over.
Well, we need open universities. That's what I'm advocating. Everybody has a right to be educated. That's a human right. Every human being. Yes, and now I would introduce the remarkable, eloquent Dr. Randy Sharp.
Brothers and sisters, I don't have a whole lot to say, but there's a spirit of heaviness in this room when we hear the crap that we're dealing with on every level, and I feel some heaviness. We need to get back to the movement, and I'm talking about the movement. We had a culture. So I want to do a call and response. I'm going to say people. People. Say it louder like you care. People. People. Power. Power. People. People. Power. Power. People. People. Power. Power. People. People. Power. Power. People. People. Fight. Fight. People. People. Fight. Fight. People. People. Stand. 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 And then there's just one more piece. It's a culture. Gonna let nobody turn me around. Turn me around. Come on. Turn me around. We're gonna let nobody turn me around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking in this American land. We're gonna let no bankers turn us around. Come on, louder. Turn us around. Turn us around. We're gonna let no bankers. Turn us around. We're gonna keep on fighting, keep on winning, taking back this land. We're gonna let no politicians turn us around. Turn us around. Come on, louder. Turn us around. We're gonna let no crooked politicians. Turn us around. We're gonna keep on fighting, keep on winning, taking back our land. We're gonna let no crooked preachers turn us around. Turn us around. We're gonna let no crooked preachers. We're gonna keep on fighting, keep on winning, taking back our land. All right. Don't y'all feel better? Are we gonna fight? Say fight. Now, I just have a few suggestions, and I'm going to sit down like Rosa Parks. We need to use arts and culture. We need to think about having activities that ordinary people who are afraid of heavy issues will show up for. We need to be showing movies, doing poetry. We need to be singing. We need to find the pop culture of resistance and draw the young and other people in. When you come with all this heavy stuff, it depresses even thinking, passionate people for justice. It gets sad. They've hijacked the culture of the young people with capitalism and bling bling and bitches and hoes and all this other foolishness. We need to recapture the culture of the people with music, with arts, and we need to think about how we can do that, not just as a way to recruit people, but to raise money for our struggle. That's suggestion 1. Suggestion 2. We need a squatter movement. We need to take some of the things off the windows and move in and move these folks off the street and dare their asses to move us. We need to take it. Now, I want to announce an event. Sister McKinney will be speaking at the International Human Rights Association convention in Chicago, Illinois, on the same period that Brother Connolly. We want folks to come here. If you can send a delegate, because IRAM is one of the pioneer organizations that teaches people about how we can use the United Nations to go after the racism and fascism and the lack of human rights all over the world and in this country. There are things like the Supplementary Protocol for Education and Culture. The United States is not a signatory nation for it. The United States has refused to recognize education as a human right. There are a whole bunch of things. When policemen shoot people here, most people don't know that that's a violation of human rights, but the United States has refused to sign those little signatures to say that policemen should not shoot people. We need to start demanding our international rights as well as our national rights. We talked about nutrition. Sister McKinney, I call her the First Lady of the Black struggle, First Lady of the Pan-African struggle, First Lady of every kind of struggle you want to think of, works with black farmers. We need to think about a way that we can have the farmers bring the food, nutritious food, fit for the righteous people we are to eat. The food exists, the fish exists, the meat exists, and we can employ, even young people could sell. I will buy oranges and rutabagas before I buy some crack from someone on the street. Some of these people down here could be selling something that we need. The capacity is here. There's a brother by the name of Reverend Al Sampson, the only minister ordained by Martin Luther King. He already takes fruits and vegetables, and he's working on fresh fish. Remember the fresh fish? Fishman. We can have nutritious food and employ ourselves. We don't care about Walmart. I don't give a damn about Walmart or any of the chain stores that won't even serve our neighborhoods. We could feed ourselves. And along with that, Reverend Sampson's plan is to get a 100,000 square foot warehouse in every city where people like us live. Some of it would be for food, and the rest of it would be for those people of color who manufacture products so we can directly sell and do business with one another. Since these people pay the politicians to cut our throats and to jail our kids and to destroy education, we need to stop giving them our money. Right. Screw them. See how fast they change when they go broke. Maybe some of them will be homeless. I need to remind you also, the Voting Rights Act is up. No one's talking about that. Can you imagine if we did get a movement and they strike that down with the fascist, brutal, Nazi-like cops we have? We could stand to lose our right to vote. And we really need to deal with that. That's right. Last but not least, I want you to always remember that you have the power. You have the ability. I'm unemployed. I'm a teacher that got fired because my students like me, and my students were going to close the school down that I worked. They got fired from Bowie. My students liked me. I get fired everywhere I go because I do a good job, but I won't quit. And some of us need to stop feeling down and realize that when you get bumped, it's just part of the struggle. Thank God that you're still here, you're still standing, you're still in your right mind, and you can fight back. I want to lift up and thank Brother Ted and all the other teachers and people who keep going back and serving our young people and our seniors. You and I and us together supporting each other's movements can overturn this beast of a machine. Thank you.
Stephen?
I'll just be real brief, and I just wanted to make some concrete proposals. In regards to Cynthia Mckinney asked folks earlier, were they familiar with the International Action Center? And really, there may not be a chapter in Baltimore of the International Action Center, but the All People's Congress is like a fraternal, a sister brother organization of the International Action Center. So if you want to get involved with the International Action Center, you should get involved with the All People's Congress and the Solidarity Center, and which one of our projects is Occupy for Jobs, and we meet every other Wednesday. So it wouldn't be this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday we meet, and taking in the spirit of the Occupy movement around, like the young brother was saying who was 18 years old, that jobs is so critical in this system right now, that, jobs, if you don't have a job or whatever, then you probably don't have a house, housing, and all the other things that go with that. And also, I just want to say that also I consider myself a revolutionary, and I also think that ideology is very important. And educating yourself is very important. Without education, without a strong ideology and a strong, it's hard to put something in practice if you don't have the foundations of ideology behind it. And so I'm encouraging people to come to classes that we're having at the Solidarity Center around the Cuban Revolution, because the Cuban Revolution is an inspiration for all of us who are revolutionaries around the world, who actually have seen a successful revolution where they put people before profits. I've been to Cuba, I've seen it in practice, and it's not perfect, but Cuba is a country where they put people before profit. It has the highest per capita of doctors per population of any other country in the world. Cuba, what they've done for South Africa and the struggle in Africa, sending their own brothers and sisters to fight against apartheid. So if you're interested in learning about Cuba, you should come to classes that we are having every Monday at the Solidarity Center. And I just want to say that Baltimore, we have a proud tradition from Frederick Douglass, who said, without struggle there is no progress. And just to end on a quote by Che Guevara, who's one of my favorite revolutionaries: true revolutionaries are guided by true feelings of love. Thank you.
That's right. We have Edward next.
Okay, so I just figured out I was making this presentation about a half hour ago, so forgive me if I seem ill-prepared. A lot of people talk about youth today and how we don't seem motivated, and it's true, we don't. We like video games, and our cell phones and the internet, we like to sit. But it's not that we're not motivated. It's that we're motivated by different things. It's not, young people today, unfortunately, that we're not interested in marching. You can't go to a high school and get most of the people there to march. It just won't happen. But if you get them involved with anything that they can do, but if you get them involved in anything that is media oriented, on their phones, on the internet, anything like that, they'll jump on it super quick. I had an idea to get the word out to the young people, to get them actually involved. There's these things called QR codes. They're like, have you seen them? Has anyone seen them before? Right. Little squares, little barcodes. Kids see them, love to scan them. I see them all the time. Pull out my phone, I have to scan them. It's like compulsive. You can't help it. But the thing about it is, when you scan them on your phone, it'll open up a web page, maybe an application. It'll do anything you pretty much program it to do. It's real easy to do. It's not hard. You can print them out at your house, anywhere, and just post them up anywhere you want them to be. Kids will see it. Kids will use it, and they'll remember it. If you post them up a lot, they'll see them. They're on the internet. They're everywhere. I don't have an example. It's a QR code.
QR.
Yeah, QR code. I mean, like, you can take any old picture, and the best thing about it is you can blow it up as big as you want because they're just made out of squares. So pixels don't get disoriented or pixely or nothing like that. It's super easy to do. You can do it anywhere. And I honestly think that's the key through cell phones to get people involved, young people.
To make those, it's a free app on the
Yes.
Android market.
Yeah.
It's called QR Code
Creator,
Scanner.
yeah.
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 It's a free app. Go to the Google Market. If you've got a smartphone, it's a free app. You can make it do whatever. And it's one of the most user-friendly applications in the world.
It's really simple. It's super easy. The technology is there. You just have to get it out there to kids. Like, they're off on their own not doing anything because they're not really, like, I've talked to people like recently and they don't know about any of the movements that's going on here in Baltimore. Like, I have so many friends that don't know that Occupy is still here because they think that after they left McKeldin Square, they just disappeared. They don't know. There's no press. There's no talk about it. Like, young people don't know. And I honestly believe that through cell phones, through the internet, Facebook, Twitter, whatever younger people are on, I believe that's the fastest way to get them involved. They might not actually be out there marching, but they'll get their voice in there somehow. And I believe that's the fastest way to get them in it.
Yeah. That barcode you talking about.
Yep.
Can you make one that say "Walk the hell out of school"?
Yeah, I can make one that says "Walk the hell out of schools." I can make it say pretty much anything. I can make it direct to any website, open up an application, pretty much anything you can really think of to do on a cell phone.
You know how to do that?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. What's your...
You want my email?
Yeah, go ahead.
K-O.
K-O.
TBN.
T.
TBN, yep.
B as in boy?
18 at gmail.com.
Edward just went national. You just went national.
Good.
Just went national.
What's your last name?
Boycourt. It's BOICOURT.
We know a couple of some more of those people are in the room somewhere in here.
You have a question?
They talk. I mean, you talk about solutions of what you're talking about and what we could contribute to it. Everything that's on that board ain't nothing in there about the media. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if we don't develop our own way of distributing our information and our media to get to the media,
right,
then we're gonna be spinning our wheels a lot. It's like you said, when the Occupy movement went away and there was no media behind it. If you look at the media on a daily basis, all you're gonna hear about is murder, death, and trouble in our neighborhood that represents our people. My mama got cancer just like Susan B. Anthony.
Right.
You feel me? Just like the 50s and the 60s, when they put us on the thing, it's the sphere of people of color. You know what I'm saying? It's black, Hispanic, and Muslims now.
Right.
All right? So now we got to start developing us a core of information that can be distributed on the internet so we can start getting these stories out, so we can start getting this out. Because you're not going to get it from ABC, you're not going to get it from NBC, you're not going to get it from the major networks. So you got to develop your own stream, and you got to use these technologies. To dismantle the master's house, you got to use the master's tools. And that's a tool you got to use. All right? That's my statement.
I'm with you on that.
That's my statement to go with that. And since you're so smart, I mean, I'm giving you that prop because I'm a high school dropout, dog. I'm willing to learn.
Rapidly.
You know what I'm saying?
Edward?
Yep.
You will definitely get communication from me.
Okay. Good.
I just want to add, because I've heard student walkout like 3 or 4 times, and on the 1st, March 1st, was the National Students' Day of Action. And I don't know if you've heard about this, but there was in Prince George County, Northwestern High School, they walked out, or they attempted to walk out, and it was, it's a black school, and they organized, 6 students organized themselves. They called it Project Xbox, and they spread it out, and they had everybody was ready to go last period and to walk out. And when the principals got wind of it, they collected all the organizers, told them that they were going to be suspended, intimidated them, locked the door so nobody could get out, and ultimately the organizers got suspended for a whole week. They told them that they couldn't come back in until their parents walked them to every single classroom for when they came back that next week. Intimidating them into just listening, doing what they're told.
I have something about that. I remember when I was in high school and we had Senior Ditch Day, and it was funny because Senior Ditch Day was supposed to be on a Friday, and we decided to do it on a Wednesday, and we got the entire 12th grade class to get in on it by that Friday. The thing about it is, if you get it, if I was trying to plan something like a school walkout by myself, and I got people into it and stuff, I'd be nervous that not everyone would do it, because they can't punish everyone, but they can punish 6 people. So if not everyone else is really following you or really in on it, then they'll be nervous about doing it and it won't happen. So it's kind of like how if everyone got on the highway and did 100 miles an hour, they couldn't pull over everybody. They would just have to change the speed limit. There's nothing you can do.
I brought it up because the passion is there. Like
Right.
The kids, even though the 6 kids that organized, they
Right, yeah.
were held in the principal's office while the children were
Exactly.
trying to march out. Like the school was still trying to go out.
Right.
So
I mean, they kind of have to. They got to
They
try.
locked up the doors. They locked the doors. They wouldn't let them out. There ended up being hundreds of students marching inside the school. They just left class and started marching, saying, talking, speaking straight to the principal.
I don't think they can lock. Can they lock school doors and keep kids in there?
No, they can't.
See? Too many cell phones. I would have called the police. I would have been like, they holding me hostage.
But now, do those 6 students need an intervention?
Yes, they do.
Because that's going to affect their college. Getting into college. Okay, so then we need to put that down.
So is there any more questions?
Thank you, Edward. We have about 15 minutes, so if we can just kind of bring it back down to about a couple of minutes per person. We still want to be fair. Sabrina is next.
Okay, let me wrap it up real fast. My name is Sabrina Green. I'm with International Concerned Family and Friends for Mumia Abu-Jamal and Friends of Move, Baltimore, Washington, the D.C. Committee to Free the Cuban Five, and such and all that. When we're talking about with the jobs and everything like that, you're going to have to go back a little bit further. The 1990s, I remember that was a crisis when everybody was losing jobs, and you had business executives that were sleeping in their Mercedes, and the whole United States was on a panic in that. And so basically we've been suffering for about 20 years of where it is now. And basically, as we see, the system just doesn't care. One key person that I want to address, and especially since you brought up about with the school issues and tried to tie it down, is Max Rameau. Do any of you all know who he is? Yeah. Max Rameau is from Baltimore, a good comrade, a friend of mine that's in Washington, D.C. area. He's come to Baltimore and spoke many a times, and I would urge for him to be invited to do a teach-in on what he's called Take Back the Land. Miami, the situation down there with a lot of people, the homeless and that, we're not getting on government lists for housing and that. He organized the people in the community to take it back their lands, and basically has been doing these type of teaching schoolings all around the country, including when the Occupy movement took place, to have Occupy homes, and basically that is still continued in that. So now he's been just 40 minutes down the road, but if you go Google his name, Max Rameau, or Take Back the Land, you'll find out the information, and then he'd be most happy to assist in that and show how to keep people within their houses, regardless whether it's foreclosed, being homeless, situations and such of that. I would suggest that. When I first went down to visit him in in Miami about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was supposed to see what he was doing, we came on this situation which was Edison High School, which is a Haitian community there in Miami, where the students were a situation like you just said with Northwest, where they were trying to prevent it, not allowed to walk out. The reason why they wanted to walk out was a case of police brutality that happened with the vice president. And it was a Cuban exile vice president who got ugly with them and told them, like, look, I'm the white man here. You listen to what I say. But, hey, these students had been organized by Max Ramon, and they knew what to do. It went all around the world, the country. Congressional people had to be involved in there. The end result is their records got expunged from, what they did to fight for their rights. So I would strongly suggest for him. Next thing, yes, April's a big month. As we know, Martin Luther King, the assassination date. Also, it's Marsha Eddie Conway's birthday. I understand up in Annapolis is April 23rd. Put that on your calendar. That I understand that there is supposed to be a day of in Annapolis up there. Also, April 17th through the 21st is a week for the Cuban Five. I don't know if you know who the Cuban Five. That's something you need to know about and be very involved with. And with the solidarity classes that you're doing, it leads into that. So that's very important to be. And then also on April 24th will be Occupy the Justice Department for Mumia Abu-Jamal.
All right.
As we know, Mumia has stood strongly on issues, just like Marsha Eddie Conway. A key thing of also to say with Marsha Eddie Conway was the years that he has been in prison, he mentored a lot of youth who are adult and to another generation. And that's a key point that it says. So he's been working within the system to help those that when they get out. So it's more reason to go than help him and such like that. For Mumia, it's still an issue. He's within the belly of the beast. 3 times he's been to the Department of Justice. And another key I've got to say is arbitrary executions, police brutality, intimidation is a report with the United Nations. I know because within the repertoire at that time, Ndanye had communicated that. And at that time, he had gotten into his report Mumia Abu-Jamal's case, Leonard Peltier's case, and such. And he said his recommendations to the United States, which still has not taken place, is that you've got to create another entity separate of the Department of Justice. Right. Because you cannot have the police, the system, investigate themselves. Right. That was 1997. We still haven't seen that taking place.
So they're violating CERD, right?
Yes. So this is but it's up to us to agitate for that. He told me he did all that he could within his position until he went into an office where he was with the United Nations in New York. Now he's back in with the Human Rights Commission in Geneva. But it's us within the system here within the United States to agitate and to demand that. And this is the key thing that I've got to say on that. Another key thing, too, I've got to say this. Venezuela. Just we stand for Cuba. And we look at the model with Venezuela. I know there's some of us that have been there. But lately, yes, the United States has been spending a lot of money on war, but it's also been spending a lot of money trying to sabotage the election process in Venezuela. Sure. We can look as a key model to see what they have done with the Bolivarian Revolution that has been taking place for about 10 years or maybe, about 10 years that has been in place, which youth took to the street demanding to make sure that their president at the time in 2003 when the United States tried to have a coup take place, make sure he got back in. And this is what we need to do as a role model right there. It's right down our doorstep. I'm sure you all saw south of the border and everything. Pretty much everything that was in place is what we need here. And that's the key things that I wanted to address there. Thank you. Thank you so much. And the last most important thing, Posada Corriles. You don't know who he is, you know in the class. This is a person since 1976 involved in domestic terrorism in the United States and out, still walking the streets of Miami, and should have been charged, and most importantly, should have been extradited back to Cuba, Venezuela, or even Panama, because it is students of Panama that have basically taken raised the issue on Posada recently within the last 3 or 4 months where they got their legal people and students that were at the time of when Posada had snuck in the country in Panama and tried to assassinate Fidel. They made an issue of it is that auditorium was packed with students, and it could have been them that would have been killed. Another 1976. So they brought charges, and they asked and demand that the United States be taken aback. I put up a petition on change.org. If you can sign it, you can Google there Posada Carrilla's name and sign that petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Betsy?
Hello, everybody. My name is Betsy Oakes, and I, too, am a fired teacher in Baltimore City. I got fired from Loyola University, and I'm proud to say it was Loyola because, I'm not going to go into it, but I got fired from my political work and a whole variety of other issues. But anyway, I'm proud that I got fired from Loyola. But anyway, tonight I'm here to say that it was 33 years ago that in the tiny island of Grenada, in the Caribbean. Some people call it the West Indies, but that's an imperialist name for the Caribbean. It was in Grenada, the tiny island in the Eastern Caribbean. 1979, March 13th, 12 midnight, 1979. What was that night 33 years ago? Does anyone remember? Okay, Andre knows. Does anyone else know? Who knows the name Maurice Bishop? Raise your hand and a fist. And what did Maurice Bishop say? What did he say? Forward ever, backward never. And why did he say that? Because 33 years ago, and many of you are way too young to remember that night. But I remember, because I worked in Grenada many, many years. My daughter is Grenadian American. Her dad was born in Grenada. As they say in Grenada, your daughter was made there, made in Grenada, born in the States. But I lived in Grenada. 33 years ago, the Grenada Revolution was born in Grenada by the people of Grenada, by the small farmers. They called them the peasants. They weren't peasants. They were estate agricultural slaves in 1979 to overthrow the fascist feudal government of Eric Gary. And it was Maurice Bishop, Jacqueline Kraft, George Louison, Einstein Louison, and many, 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 many other comrades who were supported by Cuba all over the world. They would have been supported by Chavez in Venezuela. All over the world, people supported Maurice and Jacqueline Kraft. And they're only in their 30s. They're young 30s. Maurice Bishop was a young lawyer, a Grenadian young lawyer. Brilliant in his 20s. He went to England and studied to be a barrister, a lawyer. But he came back to his tiny homeland in Grenada to be a lawyer, to be a revolutionary. He could have gone on and stayed in England the way many Grenadians who are educated abroad. So many Grenadians and Caribbean people emigrate to the States, and they stay in the States because material conditions are better. And they don't come back to their homeland in the Caribbean because it's so poor. You know, you think about the Caribbean and you think, oh, sun, sand, surf, cocktails on the beach. You think of pina coladas. And what do you think of when you think of the Caribbean? You think of cruise ships and cruises. But it's not like that. It's not like that for the people who live there. It's hardcore poverty. It's slavery in those tourist hotels. It's Ramada Renaissance. It's slavery. It's still slavery. In 2012, it's slavery. It's getting worse and worse and worse. But Maurice Bishop, I want to end because I don't have much time. But Maurice Bishop, at age 36, and Jacqueline Kraft, who carried his child, were slaughtered by Ronald Reagan. They said it was Bernard Court. They said it was the left wing, the far left wing of the People's Revolutionary Government in 1983, October 25th, 1983. Does anyone remember when the U.S. government invaded Grenada under the Eugenia Charles Prime Minister Eugenia Charles of Dominica. It was Dominica, Ronald Reagan, not Dominica. That's not even a name. It was the island of Dominica. Remember when Ronald Reagan got on TV at 9 a.m., October 25th, and he and Eugenia Charles, the Prime Minister of Dominica, it wasn't Dominica. There's not even a place called Dominica in the Caribbean. There's a Dominican Republic. That's a Hispanic island. Dominica is English speaking. He couldn't even pronounce the goddamn name of the island. It's Dominica. It's Dominica. There we go. Anyway, remember when Ronald Reagan invaded Grenada? Why did he invade Grenada? To save the medical students. Do you know? I talked to the medical students. They said, we never wanted to leave Grenada. We love the Grenadian people. We wanted to help the Grenadian people because Ronald Reagan sent all his helicopters in and he killed Grenadian children. He slaughtered Grenadian children. And he killed the Cubans who were there to help the Grenadian people. I saw the U.S. Marines. I went to Grenada after the U.S. invasion, and I saw 10,000 U.S. Marines with M16s on the beach, ready to shoot innocent, unarmed Grenadian people. No Grenadian people had weapons, and the U.S. Marines were there to kill Grenadian people. People with no shoes, people with barely any clothes on, because they were poor. People with nothing to eat. And the U.S. Marines had cocaine, and they brought cocaine to Grenada. You know, when I was American there, they said, are you bringing cocaine? Like the Marines said, are you bringing cocaine to Grenada? I said, no. But anyway, I'm done. I just want to say, in the memory of Morris and Jacqueline Kraft, let us learn from the revolution in the tiny island of Grenada. Let the revolution live on. Let us bring the revolution back. And let us have another revolution in Grenada and all over the world. Let us have a revolution here in Baltimore and in the U.S. Keep fighting. Ever forward, never backward. Fight on for the revolution in Grenada and all over the world, in the Caribbean and all over the world in the U.S. and Baltimore. Thank you.
Thank you, President. I've been told we were supposed to wrap up a while ago, so what we're going to do is go ahead and close with Reverend Witherspoon. And Larry Hills and Cynthia Mckinney. Yes. You can close the door.
I'm going to be respectful for my time. I know my godmother's going to start looking at me cross-eyed. But let me just be very brief and say this, because I think it's important, but I'm going to be mindful of the time at the same time. It's very critical for us to understand that there's not one political philosophy that can solve all of our problems. It is very critical that we examine our own selves and our own personal values to discover what's the best route for us from a political perspective. Let me be clear. I firmly believe that we've got to exhaust all sorts of means to move our movement forward. I firmly support the work of the Occupy movement. I think we ought to give them a round of applause because the demonstrative action that they're taking on critical issues of importance to our community needs to be duplicated in every single community around this country. We need the people to remain fired up. I'm happy that Mr. Wiggins is here because we also need to exhaust the efforts in relationship to the courts. But I think it's very critical that we make sure that we examine ourselves to find out what our own principles and our values are, and that we stick to those things because we have to look at ourselves in the mirror at the end of the night, and we've got to look at our children. If you vote, vote your conscience. If you decide to demonstrate, demonstrate like hell. If you decide to hold the political and elected officials accountable, then do that. But my contention is to you today, examine yourselves to find out exactly what your philosophy is, your direction will be, and be committed to that. The only one thing, the only one direction that's wrong, and that is essentially to do nothing. That's right. To do nothing is a sin, it is a moral crime, and quite frankly, it is just as wrong as any bank that would steal someone's home. It is just as wrong as any crooked politician. It is just as wrong as any pimping pastor. To do nothing is a crime, and it is a sin. And so I just want you to be mindful of that today. Thank you so much.
I'm going to be very brief as well.
because we do need to leave from this place and go to the next place and contemplate on the things that we have heard tonight. I've sat through 3 meetings, as I had indicated earlier, New York, Philadelphia, and now here. But I tell you that tonight was the most moving of them all. We have heard from people who are not theorizing about problems. They're experiencing them.
That's right.
From our young man, who I don't even know how I went to him before this gathering actually, the meeting was called. And he said he was called to come here tonight.
Sure did.
And he just literally transformed this meeting from a theoretical, intellectual exercise into something that made me very ashamed of myself, my country, my former colleagues in the Congress,
Amen. Amen.
my president,
Amen.
my national leadership. And this gentleman with the kidney situation, Ted Lee, missed the Libya. He came in and said that he missed the Libya event, but in Libya there was no homelessness.
That's right.
And we talk about education. In Libya, there was free education. Libya was educating all of the African students on the entire continent free of charge. And yet here we've got 3 professors who have been fired for educating people. What is it that this country has become? Or more to the point, what is it that we have become that we allow this to take place? So now we've got these signs up on the board here because we know that there's a senator who's getting paid every day to resolve these problems for all of us.
Come on now.
That's right.
Senator Ben Cardin
Say so.
stole the Democratic nomination from Kwesi Mfume. And now the people of Maryland have an opportunity to send him home. Send Ben Cardin packing and put somebody else in there. But now here's the thing. When we cast our votes for the alternative candidate, that alternative candidate has to be worth our vote.
That's right.
So now I don't know about Mr. Muse yet. And so that means that there's work for us to do. And there's accountability that we must hold all of our potential elected, soon to be elected, our leadership elected officials. We have to hold them to a standard. Well, at any rate, I know that this has been an entirely rewarding experience to see these people with the talents. We've got the young man here with the app thing, and we're going to implement the ideas that have been here with the benefit of the International Actions Committee and the Solidarity Center and every one of you, because this is not the end of a meeting, this is the beginning of a relationship. So thank you very much. And Larry, you come on up here.
I would have to concur. We had New York, Philadelphia. We're actually on to LA next, and then hopefully more will develop. But I think that as we struggle, we learn, and we should educate ourselves. And we don't have to have an agreement about everything. We should learn about the system itself, and we should learn historically about what has happened with it and where we are now, and look at what's happening around the world. That's important. But we don't have to agree to be communists, socialists, anarchists, or even revolutionaries. What we want is unity. You don't have to join, our organization. We want unity of organizations that are working behind a program of needs. And it's not necessarily going to be the same from city to city. There will be something common, but there will be different things. What's happened in Jersey City isn't necessarily happening in Baltimore. That's different, a little bit different. But it's all about our dignity. And I think that if you go to work every day and you're worrying about how you're going to keep a roof over your head or of your family, how you're going to feed yourself, if you dream of something better, then you are in a struggle. And we are brothers and sisters in the struggle. Whether you're black, brown, white, Asian, indigenous, we all are people who are trying to make it, who are exploited by a system. And we want and dream something better. So we have to find a way to show solidarity with one another and work together. And I think that you have a program here for the city of Baltimore, and keep meeting together. There's plenty of time to discuss it. We don't have all the time tonight. We don't have to exhaust the time tonight. But get together again and discuss it and how we're going to actually implement these things. And that'll be part of a national discussion. And I think one of the things that we can plan on doing nationally, before Dr. King died, he was fighting for a right to a job or a living wage for all people, the Poor People's Campaign. They were going to go to D.C. and stay there.
That's right.
And we need to do the same thing.
Poor People's Campaign.
Go there and stay. With no plan of leaving. Don't even buy a return ticket.
Come on now.
But go there and stay. And they passed a law that said that anybody who's interrupting public business can be arrested and fined $50,000 to spend 10 years in jail. Well, we should dare them to put millions of us in jail. That's the type of movement we need to build. To get all those people, if you can't go to D.C., then mobilize for your city hall or your state capitol. But we should try and get as many people as possible to actually go there and stay there in D.C. and take over the Capitol and say, we ain't going anywhere. This is our program. This is what we need and what we demand. We're not asking you. We're telling you. You want us to go home? Then make housing a guaranteed right for all people. Make healthcare a guaranteed right for all people, and provide a massive jobs program to put everybody at work. There's roads that need to be built, schools, bridges, people who are in their homes and can't leave who need services. There's plenty. If you can spend $680 million to $1 billion to wage war on people around the world and to build the billions, the trillions that have been spent to bail out the banks, then, and if you're worried about the bankers, you need to worry more about millions of people, 150 million that are either impoverished or facing or one check away from being. You need to worry more about them than Wells Fargo and Bank of America and Chase Manhattan. So let's build that, and we'll come back here, and we want to learn what's happening here, and we'll stay in contact and continue working together. No matter what organization, or if you're not an organization, we should all work together and unify around the basic needs of people in this society. Thank you.
We'll be back.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. All right. Last but definitely not least, I'd like to introduce the talented Ron Kipling Williams. He's going to end with a moving poem for us tonight.
Okay.
What's happening, y'all? How you doing? Peace and blessings. This is called Human Rights. You would feel grateful if somebody fashioned a muzzle so I could forever be silent. You would celebrate with a hearty meal and your favorite poison if I languish in solitary confinement despite my innocence. You would be ecstatic if I suffered a head-on collision and died, or if I committed suicide or mysteriously disappeared from this existence. You would file my obituary inside your evil diary, and in big bold letters you would scribble success. But as I stand before you, you anticipate my retort, don't you? I am absolutely, unequivocally, 100% emphatically going nowhere. I live here. And it is my right and my birthright to exist in this space, so I will remain in your face until you value me as a human being. Otherwise, you will vacate our space and slink away to your vile, predatory business and scapegoating others for your egregiousness like the sniveling coward you are.
Right.
I exist because I exist, and I need not identify or define or justify who I am to you. But you know that. Because despite the back-breaking loyalty of the working class, your pockets have been exponentially fat, and you target us all for your postmodern chattel enslavement. I have been watching and talking and organizing to deal with you and to amplify the truth while you have been redacting the proof that your duplicity is true. And while you parade the red, white, and blue, the only colors I experience is black and blue. As you conduct your media blitz to mislead the public into believing that I am the enemy, when in fact the enemy is you. You are the quintessential old dirty bastard, sipping Cavassier in crystal towers, fondling your penis and firing missiles to satiate your craving for power. I am not hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, or run amok, and my social political consciousness has never been stuck. I am as clear, crystal clear, as the North Star to Harriet Tubman, who packed 2 loaded pistols. And from my arsenal, I possess double-barrel shotgun words for you. So you may contact Fox News so my message can be viewed, and Rush Limbaugh too, to keep the syndication glued, and message your secret society so that soon you and your cohorts will be paying the piper as I collect my just due. Because I will have my human rights, and we will have our human rights, and the world will have their human rights. And like Frederick Douglass, I will stride through your house that we have built, for your power will concede to my demand. And the workers will finally have dominion over this land. And we will not petition for another piece of legislation or bill of appropriation, because not only will we control the sugar, but we will control the honey and the iced tea, the machines and the factories. We will shout solidarity as poverty will become history, and the legacy of your diabolical ruling class will be nothing more than a ghost story. No need to check your Rolex, your time is up. We will deflate your super PACs and reduce your Koch brothers, political war machine dogs to nervous little pups, because we the people are fed up. And from the tobacco fields to the fruit pickers, to the coal mines, to the textile shops, to the harbor workers, we stand up. I live here because it is my right and my birthright to exist in this space, so I will remain in your face until you value me as a human being. Otherwise, you will write a new entry into your evil diary about your trauma from being black and blue because you pimped the red, white, and blue, and accordingly, we dealt with you. And in big bold letters, you will scribble defeat, because I will have my human rights, and we will have our human rights, and the world will have their human rights. And no muzzle, and no prison, and no head-on collision will stop me. Thank you.
That concludes our meeting. I just want to thank our special guests, of course, for coming out. Everyone that spoke and shared your stories and solutions as well. It was a lot of solutions. I did not anticipate that. I think everybody's been moved and uplifted and empowered to really go out and make a change, do something different. You all be careful. Going home, you'll have a good night.
And let's thank Shannon, who put up with all of us who spoke so long. It's hard being a chairperson. So let's give a big round of applause for Shannon.
Rough spot, so I'll just put. Not too bad. Yeah, from what I.